So I'm going to start with an introduction. My name's Jacob Micklin. I run the video department here at InterNACHI. I create a bunch of educational content for our members on our YouTube channel and portions of our website. I am starting to film again since the pandemic is winding down. So keep an eye out for some fresh new content next month. Welcome to our very first live on-site home inspection webinar. Today we are going to be filming with Certified Professional Inspector and Certified Master Inspector Lon Henderson here just right outside of Denver. It's a very pleasant day. It's going to be a great day to shoot this home inspection. Everyone will be able to ask questions, but we're going to ask to wait till we're done with specific portions of the home inspection. So like when we finish the roof and the exterior, we're going to open it up to questions after that. When we're done with HVAC, we're going to open it up to questions. And I'll answer 3 to 5 questions, and we're just going to keep on moving on. And at the very end of the webinar of the home inspection, we'll just open it up to questions entirely about what you just saw. So we're just going to try to keep things moving right along. And without further ado, I will introduce you to Lon Henderson.
Hello. Well, we are doing something brand new for us here. We're going to try do this kind of live, a real inspection here. A couple of things though, a little different than I would normally be doing is, normally I would have my laptop set up. If the client's with me, I would give them a little orientation speech, setting the kind of the expectations for the inspection. A lot of us send our agreements to clients ahead of time, or at least at the start of the inspection, if the client's with us, do the agreement, get their, go over things with the agreement and get their signature and stuff. But I like to still give them a speech, my little speech, because almost nobody really reads the agreement. So I'll start out by telling you what I tell people. So I tell them, in fact, I start by going, okay, I'm going to give you my little speech now. And they always kind of grin and stuff. And then I say, so I'm doing a visual inspection of the house, looking at anything I can reasonably look at. Going to start on the outside, roof, structure, plumbing, electrical. Move inside, continue looking for structure, plumbing, electrical, check the appliances and the furnace, anything I can get at. Don't tear holes in walls or move furniture, but try to see as much as I can. More eyes looking, the better. Anything you see, have a question about, definitely point it out. We're trying to get a snapshot view of what's going on in the house today. Try to tell if something's wrong or going to break, but how things are working for the relatively short time we're here is about the best we can do. So with that, here's our house here. And so I like to start out by taking a photo of the house, kind of put that start in my report. And then start walking up here. We see we have a little damage on our cyclone fence here. Nothing too major. By the way, I'm also going to be talking pretty much nonstop because otherwise it'd be really boring. So I'll try to do that. So as we come up here, kind of interesting, we see that it looks like the porch has had a cat poured on it in the past. Little flaking there, little spalling action on the sides. Honestly, that doesn't look like any big deal to me as far as a big defect. Probably make a note of it in a report. On our foundation here, see a good crack here running through. Looks like somebody did some parging on the exterior here. This is a 100-year-old house, by the way. Actually, I think it's 105 years old. So sometimes, they didn't always use the best concrete for some of their foundations. And sometimes we see that it's a little weak. And I'm seeing some chips in here. So I'm thinking we may have had some spalling on this foundation in the past. And somebody parged it here. And honestly, it's working pretty good. I noticed as we walked up over here, you can see, and look at this, see how it flakes there? That's kind of what I'm talking about. So the interesting thing about this is concrete foundations have tremendous vertical strength. And so we can lose a little of our surface material here without affecting the overall structural integrity of the house. So this is something, again, I'd make a note of in the report, but not necessarily calling it out as some kind of defect that needs structural remediation or something. In the same area here, we see that our drainage is looking a little shaky here. So I'll let Jacob step around over here where he can kind of see what we're talking about. So you can see here we got soil sloping down to our sidewalk. So it looks like to me we'll get some cooling here on this. So I'm going to take a couple of photos here that I would put in the report showing this. And I'm also going to take some photos of our foundation and our spalling here. And by the way, just kind of as a side note, I like using a real camera. It's got a powerful zoom on it. This is a, what is it, a Canon SX620. I've used these for, this is like the third one. I'm hard on my stuff. I like this little camera. It does a good job, has a flash on it. So that's the way I like to do things. I don't use my, iPhone for taking photos. That's just my choice. So over here, we see some more of that spalling that we were talking about on the foundation on the front. Big crack here. So when we go inside the basement here, we're going to be, looking for some more evidence of something going on. But this here, that's a little more spalling than I like to see. On the other hand, it doesn't look like enough to compromise the inspection. I mean, the foundation, compromising the foundation. But yeah, that's a good amount of spalling that we see on the surface here. And then, as I look at our siding here, we see some little cosmetic cracking here. Probably needs a little bit of some sealing and paint repair. This, I am like 99% sure, is Insul-brick. Insul-brick was a product used, it was popular in the 40s and 50s. Even though it was called Insul-brick, it has almost no insulation value. It's a asphalt impregnated fiberboard. The two patterns I typically see is this pattern and then a kind of a stone veneer pattern, but it's not really brick. I gotta say, so far, this is in amazing condition. Normally, not looking so good. I'm thinking that they may have had an issue on the bottom in the past because we see that we have a trim board put down here. So I'll bet you that they took off a course of damaged Insul-brick down here and then trimmed it with that. And you know what? It's working. It's working. Looks like we could use a little bit of caulk repair on some of our joints here, paint. And then we notice on our trim up here, we definitely got some paint repair that we need. This old wood is so weathered. I like to probe it and see if I got any rot. And I use my big screwdriver as my probe. But yeah, actually looks solid. It just needs some caulk and paint repair on it. Take another photo. Our eave looks pretty good. I see a little missing knot hole in the fascia there, but that's just cosmetic. Yeah, we'll move around the other way here. Yeah, check the faucet while I'm standing here. Oh yeah, that's working. And it's secured to the wall. Cool. So let's move around here. Obviously, okay, we have a pine tree next to the house. It's pretty close. Might even be touching the roof. Always would recommend pruning it off the roof. We'll be going on the roof here shortly. It's my experience, my observation over the many years of doing this, that pine trees rarely push on foundations. So I don't get too excited when they're this close to the house. If it's a hardwood, like an elm, ash, maple or something, oh no, this would never work. This would be big trouble. But with pines, not so much typically. So I'm not going to get too excited about this, but I'm still going to put in the report that the tree is too close to the house because they should be 10 feet away. That's just it. You see here, got a little water penetration. You can see how it's kind of loosened a little bit there. I'm gonna take a photo of that too. So yeah, I'm gonna be recommending caulk and paint touch up and stuff here, but little damaged gutter. See how it's dented up there? Maybe a tree limb fell and hit it, who knows? But something damaged the gutter right there. Not too serious. We like extensions. Oh, look at that. Our extension is not doing the thing for us. So splash block should be under here like so. And by the way, normally on an inspection, we're not trying to fix this stuff as we go. That's going to call out that getting this extension fixed here and done a little better is a recommendation. The drainage here, actually, when I walked up, I thought it was looking kind of flat, but now that I'm standing here, I can see that we do have some drop off going away here. So not too bad here, actually, not too bad. Boy, you can see an old tree stump that somebody fortunately took out at a good time. So kudos to somebody for that. So, okay, nothing too horrible here. Our trim, again, need paint repair on our trim, but this looks much better here than what we saw on the south facing side. So cool, let's move on around. See what else we see. Yeah, just some TLC needed here on our paint job. And by the way, this they have a dog here. So just one thing about dogs in general, kind of if nobody's mentioned a dog to you, but you see evidence of it, ask about it, find out, make sure that got a friendly dog. So our patio here, actually not looking too bad. Got a crack in it here, but that's nothing. And patios typically are not part of the foundation. They're poured independently of the foundation, so they're rarely a structural concern, but we like them to drain away. We do have some window wells here that, luckily, it looks like, yeah, our patio is definitely sloping away from them. But you can see some rotten wood there. See some rotten wood in our trim around this. So I'm going to take a photo of that. Got one over here too. So yeah, need a little cleanup action there around the framing. I think they just, I'm not sure what it's doing with this. There's an inside window there, so these are just being used. I don't know why, not hurting anything. So this window well, yeah, got a little wood rot in it too, and looks like a broken pane of glass there. And the nice thing about this camera is I can zoom on it from a distance and take a photo. Yeah, so a little bit of repair work there to our trim and our broken window there. So it looks like somebody added a window in the past here, and also, I think we're going to find out as we go that we probably have an addition, looking at the roof lines going back. So we probably have an addition to the house here that was added on sometime in the past. Again, weathered trim, but looking pretty good. Needs paint, but looking pretty good. Gutters here, not too bad. Actually looking newer. Looks like they may have replaced these gutters at some point. And well, we're here. Let's just take a look at the electric panel, service equipment. And as most of you know, all of you know, our standards of practice does not require us to open these up. Here in Colorado, all inspectors open them up. It's just the custom we do here, and that's what we do. Not to mention, how can you know what's going on inside if you don't open it up? So, and by the way, even though I didn't do it here when I walked up, I had already kind of walked around the house once in preparation here. It's not a bad idea when you walk up to a panel to tap it with the back of your hand and just make sure the box is not electrified. That is like in my 22 years, I've never run into that, but I have some buddies who have, so it's something to be aware of. So I like to open it up, take a photograph showing the opening here, or usually I do that before I take off the screws holding the dead front cover on. Our label here is pretty faded, but we can read it, so I'm going to call that good. Then I usually take a photograph of the main label over here just for interest. We see here we have a 150 amp main breaker or disconnect for the house, but our panel is rated to 200 amps, so that's good. That's the way we like it. Main breaker less than or the same or less than the rating for the panel. So that's a good start. And then we'll pull our panel off here. Ever so carefully. See what we got going on here. So we take a look here, seeing what we have going on. We can't see our service conductors coming in because they're coming into the meter box and then down into the panel. We do have overhead conductors here. So looks like pretty clean work actually. So these are our neutrals, white wires on the neutral bar over here. Neutral bar and the grounding bar are connected on this panel because this is the main service panel here. I got one wire per breaker. That's the way we like it. Got a couple of an arc fault and a GFCI there. So the panel is dated. It's not the current code, although as a home inspector, we don't use that code word much. So it's not to today's standards, but
Why is that?
Because the standards are changing all the time. For instance, there's the new NEC, National Electric Code, just came out in 2019. The next one will be next year. So it's constantly changing. And so unless the panel was literally, well, at least here in the metro area, one of the things we see, or the way it's done here, and I don't know if this is true everywhere in the country, on this older house, the panel is not required to be brought to current standards. So when this panel was upgraded, probably in the last 5 or so years, I don't really have any kind of date here to tell us for sure, but I'm guessing within the last 5 or so years, they weren't required to bring it to the code at that time, which would have required arc fault circuit interrupters everywhere here, just about for all the major rooms in the house, basically. But they did put a couple in here for, let's see here, it would have been the arc fault for the bedroom and, oh, in the front room, go to GFCI. So that was good. I don't know if city inspector made them do it that way, or the electrician just thought that was a good idea, but they weren't required to bring it to current standards. If this was a brand new construction, it would have to be to current standards, to the current NEC. But because it's a old box being brought more current, it was not required. So, and also, sometimes it's just difficult because of the wiring inside the house to bring everything to current standards without rewiring the house. So this actually looks quite good. Oh, the other thing I like to do after taking my look at it, take my photos, and then I take a lot of photos in the box just in case there's some kind of question later on. For instance, a few years ago, I got a call telling me that I had failed to realize that the neutral wire was not bonded in the panel box, and they'd had a big problem. And I had a photograph clearly showing the neutral wire bonded in the box, and the issue went away. So I like to have a collection of photographs of the panel just in case, if any questions come up later on. Let's put this back together.
And I may, if we're finishing up electrical, I may open it up to electrical questions here, if anyone has any questions.
Sure.
Let's see. I'm gonna read some off of the Q&A. Remember the Q&A feature, guys. Let's see. Corey Zanger asked, "Is it common to have the panel outside safe?"
Yes. Here it's always done outside or in the garage, or the two places by custom. But remember, the new NEC now requires a main disconnect on the exterior of the house. And this is for safety. Let's say there's a fire. The first thing firemen do is they show up, they turn off the electricity to the house. Well, having an outside disconnect gives them that quick way of turning off the electricity to the house before they start, flooding it with water. Yes, on the outside of the house is desirable. By the way, at least in the Denver area, it's illegal to lock the panels, but the fire trucks all carry bolt cutters with them, so they can take the padlock off if they have, if they run into that. But it's technically illegal to lock it. We do like to see panels on the outside just for convenience too. But yeah,
I have some people asking about some questions about some of the wiring in there. Walter Boyd asked a refresher, which wire was the neutral again?
The white wire.
The white wire.
So the white wires are neutral, and then one of the service wires coming in was also wrapped in white wire, and that's our neutral service wire coming in from the pole.
And then Michael Hetzel asked, where's the ground?
So the ground in this case is probably, this right here. So if you get down here, you're going to see a grounding rod down here. So we're going to have, we have one ground here. There's two grounds required. This is one. And then when we go inside, I'm hoping we see a water bond, which would be a grounding wire on the water line coming in. So also, by the way, we have power running to the garage here. And so they ran it down here underground. And look, they should have buried it 18 inches or more, or it has to be in conduit. If it's less, we're not going to be digging up the yard to find out if they put it the right depth or anything. That's just kind of for what it's worth. One of those things where you go on faith that they did it right, but you don't, unless we see some strong evidence otherwise, we're just not going to get too concerned about the things we can't see.
All right, another question. Chad Talbot asks, would you call out the workspace clearance through the HVAC unit?
The HVAC unit is to the side, so I would not. If it was directly in front, I sure would.
Let's see.
Then I got an outlet here I'm going to be checking. Good, and it is a weather resistant GFCI. You can see the WR on the outlet there, so that's exactly what we like to see in a all-weather box. So nicely done.
Let's see. So let's get another question here. Sure. Andrew Weaver asked, do you recommend we use insulated screwdriver to remove screws?
I never have. It's a great idea.
Probably a good thing.
So I would say yes. Good idea. I never have though, and I've never had a problem with the way I do it. So yeah, probably the next one I will, and I'll have to change my ways, but.
All right, we'll do two more questions
Sure.
here. When Bill asks, when will you check the GFCI and arc fault?
Normally, and let me rephrase it, never on an occupied home am I tripping those in the panel because I don't know what I'm turning off inside. Now, individual outlets like this one, GFCIs, I'll check that. But a vacant home, sure, I trip those, hit the test button on them. But occupied homes, I just don't do it.
Okay, and then Rick Schuer asked, how close should an outlet be to the AC?
There's no.
Is there?
There's supposed to be an outlet for servicing the AC, and 6 feet is typically the distance, the maximum distance, because so many of the tools we use only have a 6-foot cord on them. So 6 foot is kind of the number, so to speak.
Great.
Within 6 feet.
Well, these are great questions, guys, but we're going to keep on moving to the next section. We could stay here all day and talk about electrical, I'm sure. So we're going to keep on moving.
One thing, and many times we get information ahead of time on inspections, whether we're given the property notice or the seller's disclosures or other things. And in this case, the owner has disclosed he's had a few issues with water coming in during big rains. And so he's been doing some landscaping work here to try to get this under control. Looks like he has some more to do here, but he's in the process of working on it. So I am going to be taking some photographs of this and putting in my report the comments that he told me that he's had a couple of times during big rains, water find a way into the house in this area right here. So we'll give him kudos for getting going on trying to get it fixed, but obviously he has a little more work to do to get the drainage fixed where the water will flow away and around the house. Probably what he told me, he's trying to get it out to the driveway here and get it to go that way. And I agree with his.
And it was pooling here?
Yeah, he had water pooling on this stoop here and getting deep enough that it was getting through the door, through the bottom of the door here into the, and his basement's right on the inside here. So it's finding a way through and into the basement through here.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, if he hadn't told me this, I would have seen, you know, some drainage issues and called it out. But with him telling me has happened, gives me that true sense for how major it was. It was big. So that's definitely something that I'm going to have a little essay in my report about. So let's keep on going. So metal siding, and I don't try to determine if it's steel or aluminum. I just say it's metal. And it's been painted, and you can see we do have some peeling paint, which is very common. You know, it can be a little tricky getting paint to stick to steel or aluminum siding. So it looks like here, and you know, look, this isn't a defect, it's just an observation. Look how we've got these short pieces of siding laced in here. I'm thinking we may have had a doorway here that was removed, and they just put new steel siding up over that opening that they covered up there. So not a defect, just an observation. The photograph of our siding here. A couple of little dinks in it. Looks like they had something attached here that they popped over. That's okay.
This is about the metal siding. A question: should the metal siding always be grounded?
No.
No.
No. And for one thing, it's not continuously bonded between the pieces, so it's literally impossible to try to find a way to bond it to a ground source. So the answer is no. The one thing we don't like dirt piled up on our siding. Not to mention, it's actually supposed to be 6 inches below it. Now, obviously, the way look, guys, this is a 100-year-old house, and this is probably an addition to boot, almost certainly an addition. You can't get down 6 inches here without having a hole. So, you know, in my report, and I have some boilerplate disclaimers in my report. I try not to. My reports don't have a lot of that boilerplate disclaimer stuff in it, but I do have some. And one of the things is about the recommendation to have the grading, 4 to 6 inches, but 6 inches for siding below the bottom edge of the siding, and that's reduces the chance for bugs, destructive insects to have an easy path up, and also helps reduce the chance of water getting wet in that the area getting wet, water wicking up into the wall also.
Bill asks, recommend stone IPO dirt around that part of the house.
Yeah, so I think when exactly, and so you can see he's doing the work here. So one of the things I'll put in is we want a graded apron around it. 10 foot is the ideal distance for that drainage apron around a house, but in the real world, houses are closer together than that stuff. Give us at least 5 feet. You know, if we've got a 5-foot drainage apron next to the house, that's good. Drainage apron only has to fall 1/4 inch per foot of run. So it's 5 feet. We only need to drop 1 1/4 inches. Yeah, he's got to get that proper grade here. Let's say he starts 1 inch below the siding. Yeah, he's got some dirt to move yet to get his grading done here. Look, for our purposes as an inspector, I'm just going to call this out as negative grading here needs to be corrected. And I'm going to take a photo of this right here while I'm standing here thinking about it. So interesting. What do we
I got another question
Sure.
from Keith. How's the drop on that gutter downspout? Is it this right here?
Yeah, the drop's fine.
Yeah,
that looks good.
Right.
So I'm guessing because he knew he had the negative. In fact, I'll bet you money he had the negative drainage here. The downspout dumping here was contributing to it. So he very smartly ran it to the back to the property line out here to.
Is that someone else's property over there?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the next house next door there on that fence. So he dropped it off to the property line there, and we're actually next to an alley here too.
Okay.
In the back here, by the way, guys. So look at what we have going on here. This is kind of so. Not sure what we have going on here with our asphalt and granite churn here, but also up against our house, we have this here. So what do you want to bet? We had water getting into this back room. And so to try to control it, they came in here with something, maybe asphalt mix, maybe. It's been painted, so it's a little hard to tell. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Exactly what it is. You can see it. So they came in here with an asphalt mix and made this little curb to direct the water. Oh, I see how our grade is falling on our slab here. This is an old garage behind us here. So they got the water running out. We'll go around the corner here in a second. So they did this probably to try to keep water out. The owner doesn't mention any water getting into the back of the house, so I'm guessing it's working. That's interesting. Maybe not the best way to do it, but hey, if it works, it works. On the other hand, I'm going to take some photos and I'm going to write an essay on this little section here too, on what I think they did.
I saw a question earlier in the day. Are you actually writing a report on this house?
Actually, I am not planning on actually doing a real report on this. We didn't talk about that earlier.
Yeah.
Partly the reason is, as I said, with me, I don't have a photographic memory. So, I typically do sections of a house, go to my laptop, fill in all the parts I've done, and then go to the next section. Well, it'd be kind of boring TV to watch me spend, 10 minutes filling in, the section I just did. And also, I save writing my essays for when I get to my back to my home office and I'm finishing the report, adding my photographs to it and stuff. So we didn't really talk about me trying to do an actual report for this. I guess that's something we can talk about. But no, the current plan was not to actually have a true written report for this one, just kind of doing this running dialogue here with you guys on kind of thinking out loud, so to speak, as I go. So, I don't know, maybe they had a garage door back here. Look at that, the way this is framed, the size of it. They may have, once upon a distant past, there may have been a garage door here.
Yeah, it looks like it. Look at this.
Yeah.
And then there's also,
or maybe a regular door was here. And so maybe they had a garage door, they closed it off, had a door, and then closed that off. What you'll see when we get inside, this is the master bath on the other side of this wall. So when we get inside, we'll be looking at that stuff. Interesting. Always fun what to do. So, why do you know, somebody conveniently left us box here to see what's on the other side. So, what he did is he ran this gutter down. Oh my gosh, there's a huge I-beam.
Do you want to try to point the camera?
Yeah. So there's a huge I-beam down here. You can see that I-beam right there. So he's got that gutter downspout, the extension on the downspout dumping into that I-beam. And he's got the one off this little garage here doing the same thing. Well, we'll have to walk around back and see where the I-beam goes, but that's pretty crazy. That's funny. Hey, again, if it's working, it's working. That's pretty serious. That's pretty funny. So yeah, well, when we walk around back, we'll see what's going on there. So yeah, it looks like decent grading here. This is a fence line here. See, lots of spiders making a home back here. So let's see here. So we'll come back to our Insul-brick edge here. So yeah, this got to be an addition back here. Again, our Insul-brick is in surprisingly good condition. Got some siding up here. Needs some, again, caulk and paint repair on this stuff. Take another photo for that. And look, I'm sure all you guys do the same thing. Often take more photos than I actually need. When I'm actually filling out the report, I rarely put in, all 150 photos I might take on an inspection. Bulge there, but it's solid, so I'm not going to get too worried about that. More caulk and paint repair. Some vents here, maybe dryer. Not quite sure. Bath? No, it wouldn't be a bath. I don't know. When we get inside, that may become more obvious. Oh, look at this. What do we got here? Oh, bet this was a chimney. 100-year-old house. Yeah. What do you want to bet they had a chimney here in the past? Yeah, you can see the cutout in the soffit. So somebody pulled the chimney off. Although sometime in the past, put up this just paneling type material here, and again needs some caulk and paint repair around it, but it's working. A little elm tree here. Mentioned earlier, hardwoods growing next to the house. No, so I'm going to take a photo of this and say it's got to go. Kill it and remove it. Elm trees next to houses, big trouble.
I got a question. How is the clearance on the dryer and the other vent?
From the ground.
Yeah, I would assume.
The upper one is great. This white one, a little closer than we like. You know, one thing about actually, this is kind of an interesting topic. Side note, and I'll make it quick. Several of us on one of the InterNACHI forums of, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, we're talking about the difference in inspecting really old houses, newer houses, and several of the guys on the forum were mentioning that they have a disclaimer in the report that says, look, I'm inspecting houses based with the in the light of the era it was constructed in. We don't judge a 100-year-old house the same way we do a house built yesterday. That not only were codes different, but building practices were different. And then science moves on. So we know more as the years go by. So we treat this a little bit in the reference of when it was built. It may be that we find out that that was just the only place they could put that vent was right there. So I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about it. I might put in a report when I'm thinking about it that best practice would be the vent higher off the ground. But the big concern about it might be snow because we get snow here. So snow could build up around that and be an issue. So that's a great question. Great question. Here's the trees again, more peeling paint. Yeah, nothing horrible here though. But we got some of that TLC action that we need on the exterior. You know, regular maintenance is just a common need. So cool. We will see here. We'll go check out the garage. See if it's open. I can't remember if we got it open or not. You know, by the way, you can see there's some bark and stuff down here. Some of the bark has been cleared away. Yeah, a little, putting some but they got landscaping cloth down here to try to reduce the weeds. They'll still grow through landscaping cloth, but that's a good practice. What the roof tiles are for here, that's interesting. So this old garage is not something we're inspecting. It's just a storage shed and not really in the inspection. But I tell you, I'm still going to mention it because look at the lean on that thing. Holy cow. The thing's, it's not trying to fall over, but wow, that is a big lean on it. So I am still going to put that in the report. Oh, we got some roof damage on it and stuff too. I don't care so much about that, but the lean on it.
Can you kind of point out the lean to me?
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's right here. Okay.
Look, the rule of thumb is 1 inch and 8 feet. Well, we're more than an inch out on this 8 foot. So that is destabilizing. So I'm going to mention that as a potential safety issue, frankly. Although the plain truth is it would fall into the new garage here before it actually fell on somebody. But still, that's too much lean. So going to be making a note of that in the report, even though otherwise I don't really care about this storage shed too much. Locked. So this is the garage here. Let's see, we'll go out through the garage here. And
looks like the door's open.
oh, cool. Got an outlet here on the outside. Let's see if it looks. It is a GFCI. I do not see the WR on this one. That should have been required for weather resistant. Oh, it's already tripped. So let's see here. Interesting. I wonder why it tripped. It's not resetting either. Well, when we get inside, we'll see what maybe we have a issue there. While we're here, let's go ahead and keep walking around the outside for a minute. Definitely grown up over here.
Oh yeah.
Kind of tough to see some of this. Ferns growing up the side of it. You know, they'll damage the siding. Their attachments will damage the siding. So, you know, I'll make a comment about it in the report that ferns or ivy growing up the side of the garage will damage the finish in the siding or the paint on it. So let's see. Works on cars. That's pretty cool. Let's see what we got going on here. That one is good. So let's see here. Oh, look, there's our sub panel. Okay. We had the question earlier about clearance. Same for the sub panel. It's supposed to be 30 inches of clearance in front of it. So this is just storage stuff. You know, house selling, this is the seller's possessions. These are going to be gone when you know, the seller moves out. So I'm not going to be too concerned about clearances as far as my report is concerned. It's just kind of annoying when we're trying to work on this. Now, if there was some sort of permanent structure here, you know, shelving, cabinetry or something, then I would have a call out about clearances. So all of our breakers, oh, they're not labeled though. So we're going to make a comment about that they're not properly labeled. So it's similar to what we did. Take another photo. And I'm going to take a photo of the label here, showing that we don't have any labeling. So great TV here. Take us a moment to get 4 screws out. Secured the wiring up there like we should have. It's okay. Got hurricane clips on our trusses. Like we should. So looks like they did a pretty good job building this. Break loose. Wow, that was tight. Okay. When
Wanted to see
open the
that?
garage door, yeah,
The
we must have
power.
a motion detector.
Oh, okay.
And a motion sensor on the lines here. Let's open this door and let a little daylight in. And we'll watch it work while we're at it, see how well it, how smoothly it works and stuff. Looks pretty good, but it also lets some daylight in while we're looking at our panel here. So same thing. See if we see some hanky panky here. 50 amp, not connected to anything. So maybe he's planning to add a welder at some point or something, who knows? So let's see what else we got here. So, okay. So we have floating neutrals, white wires. They're not connected to the grounding wires over here. That's the way it's supposed to be in a sub panel. So we're looking pretty good here.
I have a few questions coming in about the sub panel.
Yeah.
Would you call out the exposed Romex at the top of the wiring below
No,
the remote sub panel?
because it's inside the framing. It's not on the surface of the framing. So it's okay when it's inside. So, and on the ceiling, that's considered out of harm's way. So they can get away with doing some things on the ceiling. And now in this case, they're all above the framing up there. So that's okay. But nope, this is actually good because it's inside the frame. Yeah, yeah.
And then John, it says the clearance in front of a panel is 36 inches, not 30. Is that correct?
For some reason, I was thinking it was 30, but I could be wrong.
All right, great. That's what you get when we're doing these live, you know?
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes the memory is a little, it's definitely
It's all
30
good.
inches in front of HVAC. And for some reason, I was thinking it was 30 inches in front of a panel, but I could be wrong. The, you know, it's a common
38 and on the sides.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's a common sense thing too. If it's 28 inches and I can easily get in front of it, I'm okay.
Okay.
You know, it's when you see, you know, 10 inches of clearance that you go, no. You know, that's not going to work.
Michael asked, how do you know the sub panel isn't bonded between the neutral and the ground?
Great question.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad I caught you right before that.
So, and I'm going to get my finger in a little closer than I should for our purposes here of pointing things out. But you can see, here's our neutral bar. Now, normally you shouldn't get shocked if you touch the neutral bar, but I'm not going to be touching stuff here. And then these are our two hots coming in. So those are our, you know, non-grounded conductors or ungrounded conductors. So here's our neutrals. And you can see on that silver bar and going across, we don't have any screw, which is nearly always a green colored screw that goes through and goes into the back panel to bond it to the box. However, over here is our grounding bar, and you can see we got that, you can barely see it, but underneath the green wire is a green screw that's connecting it to the box. And also, so that's what isolates that grounding bar here from the neutral bar over here. So that's how I can tell that they're not connected. You could do a connectivity test with your multi-tester or something, but that's way beyond our SOP. And remember, most of our inspection is visual. Sure, we do some things that go beyond the SOP, in some cases way beyond it. And everybody makes their own decisions in the way they want to do their inspections. But try to keep your inspection as, you know, as much to that visual part as you can, because when you start doing a lot of additional testing, then you can get into those questions of, well, you did that test, why didn't you do this other test?
One last question, and maybe with panels still open, I think, what about grounding and bonding of the sub panel? That's the question out.
Grounding or bonding? So
that Michael had to ask
the way the code is written, the grounding wire, this green wire here, must go back to the main panel. And so we saw I didn't point it out there because I wasn't really thinking about it when we were looking at it, but inside that panel over there, the main panel, that green wire was coming in there and connected to the grounding bar in there. So so this wire is bonded all the way back to the main panel, which is the way it's supposed to be done. So whenever we look at a sub panel, we should see 4 wires coming into it. 2 hots, a neutral, which should have been wrapped in white, so minor defect, but that should have had white tape on it, designating it as a neutral. So that's something you could write up in a report. And actually, I probably will make a comment on that, even though I consider that a tiny crime. And then the grounding wire coming in. So that's our 4 wires. If you only see 3, usually it's because you're missing the grounding wire coming in, and they're using the neutral as both the grounding bond and the neutral bond, which is wrong in the sub panel. So hopefully that answered his question.
All right, we'll move on. Good questions, guys.
Spend another boring minute here putting this back together. Dumpster, trash truck outside. Yeah. And by the way, screws for panels should always have a square tip, no pointed screws allowed, period. Write that up as a defect if you see it. Sometimes I have a powered screwdriver, particularly for the panels with 6 screws, because it just at that point it's almost quicker to go grab the powered screwdriver, take them off, and use my hand one here.
Might be louder for a second with the trash.
So while we're all in here, and then we'll go outside and see what that I-beam outside is doing, because that's kind of curiosity. Let's work our door again. So, one thing, check our electric eyes. What do you know? That's working. Not what do you know? Electric eyes are almost foolproof. In 22 years, I've only seen electric eyes not working once ever. So let's work the door again. So this time I'm going to let it close, and I want to look at the spring and the hinges and stuff on it. So I'm also watching the way it articulates how it's doing here. So we have our torsion spring up here at the top. So we're going to check it, make sure it's not broken. That would be ugly. And so we're looking good there. Hinges looking okay. Rollers looking okay. Let's step over here, check these rollers. So there's one more test I'm going to do here. And this was kind of a judgment call. But this is a newer opener, so it should work the way it's supposed to. If we had a Lamborghini Countach sitting here, I probably wouldn't do this test, but I'm going to check the auto reverse on the door. The pressure sensor. So I do that, open the door. So there's 2 safeties on a garage door. One is the electric eyes, nearly foolproof. Electric eyes should be within 6 inches of the floor. That's a manufacturer's recommendation, but it's smarter. So that keeps stupid kitties from trying to get underneath the electric eyes. And then the test I'm going to do here is, I'm going to spend literally 30 seconds trying to explain this. So there's a federally recommended and recognized test of laying a 2x4 block flat on the floor and having the door close on it. I don't do that. I don't carry a 2x4 block with me. I do a hand test, which is a test that most manufacturers have in their instructions for calibrating the auto reverse or the obstruction sensor on the test. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab the bottom of the door. It should, I'm going to provide, and this is all subjective, roughly 20 pounds of resistance. And if the door pushes through my hand, I'm going to say the auto reverse needs to be adjusted. If it reverses like I hope it does, I'm going to call us good. What I'm about to do is a little bit controversial, definitely outside the SOP, but the garage door opener is a dangerous thing if something goes wrong with it. Every year, several hundred people get pinned under their doors, and then every 4 or 5 years, somebody actually gets killed. So I like to check the auto reverse. As I said, if there was a $500,000 car sitting here, I might not do this test. I just put in my report that I did not do the hand test and recommend the door to be evaluated by a garage door technician. So let's see how we do. Grab the door. Oh, beautiful. That's just the way we like it. So I feel like we got the auto reverse is working the way it should, and I'm happy. So let's see what we've got going on this side of the garage.
I have a question about the garage. Do you inspect the garage door before operating, typically?
Usually I do. This time I just opened the door to let sunlight in to look at the panel. But I would always inspect it before I do any of the auto reverse tests, though. Always before doing the auto reverse test. If I see a loose hinge or anything wrong, I do not do that hand test, period. I just write it up as a defect and have the door repaired by a garage door technician. So here's our idea. Love this. So here we got the I-beam coming out. And so back behind the forest there, we got the downspouts from the house and garage here going into this I-beam. You can see good angle on it. Oh, we got a cat hiding in there. So the water will run out to the alley. So hey, system's working, and Lord knows the side beam's got to weigh a couple of tons. So I would think that it's not going to be easily moved. So that's pretty crazy. These rocks here aren't going to, or these churn here isn't going to be causing any big issues with water coming through. So hey, it's working. Oh man, look at our garage door leaning here.
Oh wow,
that's hilarious. So you know, like I said, I'm not inspecting this, but I'm going to call it out as a potential safety issue because wow, that's a lot of lean. Yeah, that yeah. We're going to say that's bad. Yeah. Oh, this. So our trim here's coming loose. We'll make a note of that in there, or take a photo of that. Well, a lot of stuff in this garage. Hard to get to all our outlets. We're missing the cover on that outlet over there. You know, be putting in the report that we're missing some covers that are required, and obviously missing this cover here too, by the way. So we're going to make a note of that. Here's our wiring to our GFCI that was on the outside that's no longer working. Man, that all looks like it should work, huh? Let's put the switch and let me go out there and make sure it's not on a switch. That would be wrong, by the way, if they switched it. Well, yeah. Actually, I don't know if that would be wrong or not now that I'm thinking out loud. Nope. It is not on a switch. We're going to call that out as defective. Whether it's a defective GFCI or a defective wiring issue, something not right there. So we got a defect we're going to call out there. Look at our framing before we leave here. Hard to see this stuff.
So I think this refers to where we are right now. John DeBusk asks, is this a detached building? If so, yes. Needs a separate ground rod?
No.
No.
It doesn't.
Why is that?
Just the way they do it around here.
Is it a state?
It's not a state thing. It's actually, now that I'm thinking out loud, because I do a lot of farm inspections, and we don't have, and in the past, and I'm going back almost 20 years, if the outbuilding was far enough from the main disconnect, or in this case, the house, then yeah, they would run a separate grounding rod on that site. But now that ground must return to the main service coming in. So no, we would not have a ground rod here. We would have that grounding conductor going all the way back to the main panel and connecting to the grounding bar in the main panel. Good question, one that often comes up.
I see that. Yeah.
Mostly with barns when I'm doing rural inspections. So I'm gonna watch the door go down one last time here. Make sure it behaves. And by the way, the outlets on new construction for garage door openers are supposed to be on a GFCI also. We don't know if this one predates that requirement or not, but and of course needs covers. But yeah, if this was anything built in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, that's supposed to be a GFCI protected outlet there.
Going back to the garage door, Marvin Stutzman asks, back to the door, do you activate the red pull cord during inspections?
Great question. No. This is a personal choice that I've made. The reason for, we'll do it here just for fun. So the big reason for doing that is checking the balance on the spring. So, look at that. The door, the springs are out of balance. The springs frequently, in fact, always go out of balance. The rule of thumb is have the springs adjusted every 2 to 3 years, because the metal, the spring steel in those springs gets fatigued over time because they're under constant pressure or torsion, even when the door's down. So they need adjustment. Nobody's doing that. But the reason I quit doing this some years ago is, son of a gun, sometimes I had a brutal time getting the J-arm here to re-engage with the saddle rider on the bar. Now,
and this is out of the scope of the standards of practice.
Out of the scope of the SOP. Not a bad practice though, and there's a good reason for doing what we just did, because here, now that I've done it, I will put in the report that the springs are out of balance and should be balanced, because the door should suspend or barely move wherever I stop lifting. So, and I stop here, the door should stay here, but it's going down. So that tells me it's probably time to add a quarter turn on these springs. And by the way, only professionals should do that. Literally, guys lose fingers doing that kind of jazz. The pressure on these springs is insane. By the way, when the springs are sized correctly for the door, 7 turns on the spring when they're new sets them at the proper torsion if they've been balanced for the door properly. That's just inside information. We're never going to be checking that. So now I've got to try to get my saddle re-engaged and make sure we're got the door working right. And that one was easy. If they were all that easy, I'd do it more. But I swear, I've had brutal times getting those things to engage. So that's just a personal decision I've made in my inspections on doing that. If you check those springs, yeah, it's a good thing to do. Mm-hmm. Well, cool. Let us, so just a kind of heads up. So the attic access was a little, not tricky, but had to get some stuff out of the way. So I got the ladder already set up for the attic. So we're going to go in.
Should we do the roof first?
Well, we got to do the attic first, because then I'll pull my ladder and we'll get on the roof.
Okay.
So we'll do the attic right now. Then I'll pull the ladder and put it back together, because I had to take it apart to get it into the attic access. And then we'll do the roof.
We do have a question on the exterior. It's over in the front. This is from a while back. Gary Parker asks, would you call out the lack of railing at the front porch?
No. Keep in mind that the rule is the porch height, and this is true for decks, anything. If the height of the porch is 36 inches off the ground, within 36 inches from it, then it needs a railing. Well, we are way under 36 inches. So,
all right, so now we're going to transition to the attic.
Going to put our booties on. Going into the house.
And I'll let you hold this.
Booties here, and I'll hold the phone. We'll watch Jacob put his booties on. And hello, we're coming in. I don't know if the owner's here. Oh, I see the dog out back. Cool. Yep. Okay. So let's step in here. Here's our access. Now, typically I put a tarp underneath what I'm doing, but I already took a peek up here and we have virtually no insulation. So that's going to be a defect we're going to call out. Even though it's a 100-year-old house and they didn't do a lot of insulation up there. Look, the times change, and some things we do improvements on for good reasons, and one of them is adding insulation for energy efficiency. The owner tells me that insulation has been added to the walls. They did a great job doing the patches here. So, but sometime in the past, they bored probably 2-inch holes in the walls here, injected insulation into the walls, and that was a good thing. But they didn't do the attic, so I know we're not going to see much up here. And this is not a big attic.
All right, for this portion, guys, I'm going to hand the phone over to Lon because I can't get up there necessarily. So it might be a little shaky right here.
So here we'll come up and see what we see. So got 2x4 framing on the rafters, but that span is only about 9 feet. I'm not seeing any deflection in them. And we've had heavy snows here in the 100 years this house has been around. So you can see the rock wool insulation that's on the floor of the attic here. What, we got 3 inches? Yeah, maybe uneven, little added out some wiring there. Need more insulation. And then, so there's our entrance into the other part of the attic. And on another inspection, I might be crawling over there to check some of those electrical connections, but for our purposes here, and the awkwardness of carrying the camera with me and stuff, I'm not going to do it. But we can see the bath vent there, and we can see the ductwork coming off of it. See some other ductwork. Nothing really jumping out as a huge, any kind of red flag here at all. So I'm thinking we look, nothing, no red flag issues, except let's add some insulation up here is my, what I'm seeing here. So I'm going to hand the phone back down to Jacob and come out of the attic. Oh, cover hasn't. The cover has insulation on it, which we like to see. That's good. So, and it's pretty warm up here.
Got any question?
Let's hold this.
Rick Sure asks color ties. Is that something in the attic?
Can't see because of the way the edge is. Oh, collar ties. Because that's a great question. I was thinking of hurricane ties, collar ties. Because it's a relatively small space in span there. I don't know that collar ties would be required there. If we had a bigger spans on those rafters, yeah, we'd definitely be looking for collar ties, but this is a little bit in that kind of quasi gray area. You would not be out of line if you made a comment in your report, wondering if there should be collar ties, but in this case, I don't think it would be required. Just, that's a interesting question.
Chad Talbot asks, do you normally do roof first or attic first?
I normally do roof first.
Okay.
I know some guys like to do the attic first because
to look for weak spots.
Yes,
possibly, yeah.
Exactly. Looking for weak spots, and but I usually do the roof first. You know, I found some soft places walking around on roofs over the years, and then do a follow-up when I go to the attic. You know, I don't crawl through a lot of attics. You're always disturbing the insulation when you do, so you can literally make the insulation worse than it was when you go through there. Particularly if you pop your head into one and it's pristine, you know, not a footprint in it. But sometimes we see things that you just got to go through there. You know, this week alone, I've crawled through 2 attics, and I'm telling you, in summertime, that's brutal. And you guys know that though. This one here is only about 90 degrees up there, so that's not too bad. But but this is one, if we were doing this a little differently, I might have crawled over to this section just to see a little bit of what we had going on over the kitchen area. But for our purposes here, we're just looking up in that area from here. Is that, hopefully that kind of explains how I sort of look at it.
How was the ventilation up there?
I would call it minimal. Good question. When I get on the roof, I'll also see what I see.
All right.
But my initial reaction is minimal, but I kind of will wait until I get on the roof to, walking around, I don't see any evidence of soffit vents. I did see some gable vents on this here, but yeah, my first spin, minimal. Now we'll go back outside. Booties back off.
Yeah, Chad's from Florida, so he loves those Florida attics. Yeah. Those are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, on with roofs. Check the edge. Yeah, looks like only one layer. Got metal flashing on the edge like we like to see.
You want to talk about ladder safety, setting up ladder? Like, so let's see, I got a question. Pierre Martin, prefer articulating ladder over telescoping?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's a great question. A lot of buddies use the telescopers, and they all have places, but I've had this little giant here for 22 years doing this. I did the math on it a few years ago. I've opened and closed it over 50,000 times. It's been a real workhorse for me. I don't mind the weight. Heck, those telescopers are heavy too. I just literally had a sewer scope guy tell me that his telescoper collapsed under him. And he said, and I had it put together right. I'm like, dude, you just sold me on why I like my little giant. But on the other hand, some telescoping ladders are much better than others. So, you know, check with your peers and reviews on them, because there's definitely a difference in them. But no, I like this. You can see the paint all over it because I've used it in my own house for doing little projects at my house. But it's been a great ladder. So I'm a huge fan of the Little Giants. This one's a 17-footer. If it doesn't reach the roof, I have a bigger one that I will take with me, particularly if I know the roof is higher. But I like getting on the roofs. There's places for drones, but if you can get on the roof, I say get on the roof. You can just do things. It's quicker. You do things. You can see things. And when we get up here, you're going to see in a minute. I'm going to be checking see how well the shingles are adhered down on the roof, and you can't do that with a drone at all. So
yeah, the last question before we get on to the roof. Gary Parker asks, what type of roof walking shoes do you recommend?
Well, these shoes I have, they're you can see a pretty aggressive tread on them. What are these, Reeboks or things?
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, Reeboks.
Yeah, they're called ZigTech. The only negative with these shoes is I sometimes catch a rock in that hole there and I have to pull it out. But this is my second pair of these. I love them, love them. They're one of the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. And in this business, comfortable shoes matter. So I'm a big fan of these. If you do, and look, I've walked 10, 12 pitches in these shoes, but only when I had to. Normally, I don't go anything above an 812 unless there's some screaming reason I got to go check something on a steeper roof. So 812 is the maximum for me. This roof is well below that. Looks like 512 maybe. For most guys, don't go above 612 unless you're really confident. But Cougar Paw shoes, basic. Oh, by the way, I've seen them for sale at the InterNACHI Inspector Pro
Inspector outlet. Yeah.
Inspector outlet. Cougar Paws are fantastic shoes for walking on roofs. I know several guys who use them, and they're like glued to the roof. They're a great shoe for roof walking.
Okay, this will be the last question.
Sure.
Now, because this pertains to how you set up your ladder. Do you ever worry about putting your ladder on gutters?
No.
No.
In all the years I've done it, I've never had an issue. Some gutters are pretty flimsy, and yeah, they'll flex a lot, but always works. So right. I do not. Great question, though. The other thing is make sure you get proper lean on the ladder. We're talking about ladder safety. Some of these ladders will have a diagram on the side. Let's see if this one does. Maybe I wore it off. But they'll have a diagram showing the proper angle on it.
Maybe this right here.
No, that's just telling you. That's just telling you not to be stupid. Good advice, right. Always, I say.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah, but if you make sure you got a good solid base on it. Couple of little tricks, particularly on slick decks, is carry an old pair of sneakers to put under the feet, so it'll grip a slick deck, or an entry mat like that one on the porch here, for instance. Put that down on a slick deck. So carry something like that for you. But here with our ground, we got a good grip, we got a good angle on it. If I grab it like this and it just with no effort comes back, I know I don't have it leaning enough. And then the other is extend it, 25, 36 inches above the roof, just so you have something to grab hold of when you're getting above the roof. Now, obviously, sometimes I got a roof edge that's 16 feet off the ground, and with the angle on my 17-foot ladder, I barely am grabbing the edge of the roof with the top. I'm very comfortable with roofs. So that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. But and this is kind of true for everything we do in this business. Kind of know your limitations. Know what your comfort area is. If not everybody's as comfortable on a roof as me, but I'm pretty comfortable with them. So I'll walk a lot of roofs that I know some other guys don't want to, and that's fine. That's okay. There's some materials I don't walk concrete tile because they're too easy to break, and I know how to walk them, but I've still broken tile standing right on the butt edge like you're absolutely supposed to, and I've been with pros when they broke them. So I put the ladder up on the edge, climb up, survey a concrete tile roof or or clay tile roof, and don't have a lot of those around here, but we have a lot of concrete tile roofs, and survey it for chips, cracks, displacements and stuff. But a composition roof like this, yeah, if the pitch isn't too steep, I'll walk it every time. And
should we head up?
Yep, let's do it.
Well, I'm going to hand you my phone as I get.
So we have dimensional shingles here, and also called architectural shingles. And so, as I said, I like to kind of check them for adhering. Once in a while, I think Jacob and I were doing a video a couple of years ago, and first one I grabbed came up. So they do sometimes run into loose ones. Hey, Jacob, you're the man.
I'm not a big roof guy, guys, but I'll make it up.
So this is the original part of the house we're standing here. We don't have any field fence, roof fence out here. We just have the gable fence, reinforcing that observation earlier that our ventilation in the attic is probably minimal. And this is over our kitchen area. That's undoubtedly the furnace flue coming up there. It's like a hailstorm whacked it on the top. Yeah, we got pretty crummy ventilation over the kitchen area. So like maybe none. Got a bath vent coming up on the roof there.
I'm going to reposition.
Yep. So this little bath vent. So we got a full bath sitting here, and that's the vent for that bath there. So that's cool. Our boot jack looks good on that vent there. And this is the back of the house where we have the master bedroom and stuff. So we do have a couple of tunnel vents here, but we don't have any soffit vents. So again, it's kind of minimal ventilation. Call that minimal. And often I would get on the roof of the garage too. Here, I can see that it's the same roof we have here. You know, and by the way, you can see our service conductors from the pole coming over the garage. That clearance is way too low, but I know because I work this area all the time that city inspectors will allow them to do that, because otherwise it's a big pain to put in a garage and get the service drop with the proper clearances. So they'll give them variances for doing that. So I'm not, if it was over the house roof, I'd be a little more concerned, but it's over the garage. So I'm not going to get too excited about that clearance with the service drop there. So, and our roof is really looking good here. So, take out my camera, take a few close photos of a couple of areas. Also, I just take a couple of general photos on top just to prove I was on the roof. Look, you know, the fascia there is, you know, just a regular board, not holes in it and stuff. That's just a cosmetic defect. I take a photo of it for reference, but I'm not going to be too worried about it. I'm going to take a peek at my gutters here. Yeah, got a little water in here. Look at that. We're not draining correctly. Because the last rain was 3 days ago. We still got water in here. So that'll go in the report. And then we got neighbor's elm trying to encroach on our roof here, so we should prune that off. Hopefully, maybe even have a conversation with the neighbor about getting rid of the elm. This. Now, that's wood rot, so that's a little more than just you know, knot holes or something on our fascia. So we're going to call that one out as rotted fascia wood there. That's dry rot. Dry rot is really common in the timber area. Even though we're a low humidity, low rainfall area, we can still get wood rot. And even though they call it dry rot, it still requires humidity to grow and moisture. So it's a, we'll see it fairly often. So taking another couple of photographs just to reference. A big pine tree's not dragging the roof, so we're not going to get too worried about it. So,
All right.
yeah, shingles look pretty good.
Good.
Oh. Talking about ladder safety, etiquette, whatever. Never put your foot on this rung. Always catch that first rung below the edge of the roof, because if you put your foot up here, you could make the ladder kick out at the bottom, and that might get adventurous. So always put your foot on the rung that's below the edge of the roof here.
And I'm going to have you take this.
Sure. And I will kind of hold the ladder here for Jacob to negotiate his way down the ladder. Cool. All right. So, perfect. So,
What would the proper clearance be for the drop over the garage?
the drop over the garage. Oh,
yeah. That was a little bit ago.
You know, if I remember right, it's 8 feet over the garage, so it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
And then, yeah, the shingles were cut properly on the closed valley, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just getting into all these questions now that we were up there. Would you call out the unsupported downspout that terminates on the other side of the fence?
No.
No.
By unsupported, it's actually kind of cantilevered over the fence, and then he's got it braced to get on the house. So it looked stable to me.
And then Marvin asks, do you usually look for evidence of moisture on the underside of roof penetrations?
Yeah. So in the attic.
Oh yeah, that was the attic. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we're in the attic looking around, yeah. If I see moisture stains, and keep in mind, it can take a lot of water to cause a stain to finally show itself. So if you're getting that much water to stain it, yeah, take your photo and make a note that evidence of water penetrating around the vent boot and stuff. And then if you see the streaks going down it, that's even more water. So yeah, those are things to look for. Yep,
great.
Good observation.
So I think we're going to move inside.
Yep. We're going to do our booties again here. Cool. Yeah. So, and you know, when you're doing this stuff, you're
gonna let the owner.
You're always looking. You bet.
Okay, we're about ready to do the interior. Thanks.
Yep. Here's our dog saying hi to us. So first thing is, gonna check the door, see how well it's sealed. Oh, look, we got daylight coming in there at the bottom. So I'm gonna make a note that the door does not appear to be, I'm gonna get my camera right there where I can see the daylight coming through. Take a photo. Yeah, it's a little out of square, the reveal, it's a little off, not too concerned about that. But, you know, I'll make a note about the daylight coming through. That's just an energy efficiency thing. Otherwise, yeah, with that, it disappears when we push it in. So need an adjustment on the strike plate here probably to get it to seal a little tighter against the weather stripping. But the weather stripping is in good shape. So it's just need an adjustment on the strike plate here. So while I'm thinking of it, look under the door. Looks good. No daylight coming in, so that's good. This is almost certainly lath and plaster for the age of the house. This is my kit of stuff that using this here shortly. So upgraded window. Like to check them, see how they work. Oh, look at this. Loose sash rod here. Got a broken sash rod there. So all that out. You know, the weird thing is the window will probably work. It does. We should have to call it out for that loose sash rod there. So just kind of the way I do things. Yesterday I had a house. I don't think there was a single latched window in the house. If I operate the window, I lock it when I leave it. Regardless of whether I find the window latched or not. Now the difference, one of the things is if I have some open windows and I see an open window across here, I'll leave that open because obviously the owner has it open for ventilation. The older, possibly original window here, the glass has got the wrinkles in it, so that's definitely original window. No, that's not sealing well at all. Got a little gasket there though, so it's not horrible. It's a single pane window. So I'll be making a note that we have a single pane wood windows or window, maybe we'll see plural. And you know, just an observation, not a defect. And you know, checking our walls and ceiling for any cracks, evidence of movement, particularly in 100-year-old houses, we definitely see movement. You know, I'm not checking blinds. I'm just opening them enough to get at the windows. Latches. That's cool. Well, since you had this one open, we will leave this one open again. And let's see, where's our, do we have outlets? Yes, we do. Let's see what we got. Shows grounded. And I am not opening up outlets and pulling them apart to see if there's bootleg grounds. That is way beyond our SOP. Unless I have a compelling reason to be suspicious that maybe they did a bootleg ground, which would be connecting the grounding screw on the outlet to the neutral screw on the outlet. Cool. So obviously all you guys know this, but 2 amber lights means it's correctly wired. So that's what we like to see. It's got one hiding down there. I'm not going to unplug stuff to find it. Got another one over here. I like to check all the outlets I can get to, just because you never know. They find the one that's got a problem. So, yeah. And I check smoke alarms. Let's see, that is a plain smoky. And typically I only check one. You know what? Now I'm thinking about it. This one should be a smoke and CO detector. Ooh, it's only a smoky. Where's our, we should have a CO detector. Uh-oh. Looks like we're don't have a CO detector within 15 feet of the door here. I'm gonna go ahead and check it now. Cover your ears. There we go. So I'm gonna hold the button down and see if it's interconnected. So it's interconnected to the others, so that's good. But this one is the one that I would recommend changing out to a combination smoke and CO detector. So that will be a strong recommendation, not to mention a requirement by Colorado law. Any house in Colorado, when it's listed for sale, has to have CO detectors within 15 feet of the bedroom doors. So home inspectors in Colorado become de facto CO policemen, which is a role that I don't mind having. It's a safety deal, so I'm happy with it. Little crack in their ceiling here. I don't think that's going to be a structural issue. Could even be thermal expansion and contraction, but we're going to make a note of it. Didn't seem to be going anywhere, so that's another reason to think it's not too big a deal. I don't know if we can get a peek in these closets here. Oh, that's definitely full of stuff. Not going to see much there. Another outlet hiding here. Unplug the lamp. I'm plugging this humidifier door for the cigars. We want to keep the cigars humid. Plug that back in. The circular window here. Sash rods are at least not broken. That's good. Fun. And we have another single pane wood window here, like we saw out in the front living room. Yeah, I mean, you know, weather stripping is relatively good. It's probably not sealing super great, but I don't see daylight coming around it, so it's not terrible. So let's see, cracks here. So I lost a shoelace here, so I'll retie real quickly. Cool. Oh, here we go. Not sure why the light switch is way down the wall, but 100-year-old house could be something going on in here, and they had to put the switch down there. Little crack right there. Look at that. That is not a structural issue. And you know, the problem with taking photographs of cracks is, man, they're hard to get a good photograph. They just, but you know, give it a try. So in my sequence of things, I normally go through the house, check this stuff that we're looking at now, and then I come back to the bathrooms and the kitchen. So I'll keep doing that here. You know, we have a bathroom there. We'll come back to it. Another outlet here. How are we doing on time, Jason?
We are getting to noon. We're close
To the end?
well to 12. So let's
I tell you what, let's bypass some of this. Let's
yeah,
do a bathroom here. Let's do a bathroom, kind of show you how I do bathrooms kind of deal. So I like to fill the sink, or oh, look at that stopper not working. So we're not going to fill this sink with water, but I like to put some sink in, I mean, maybe not full, but put some water in it, then let it out. That pressurizes the drain line. And if the drain line is going to leak, it will leak. Looks okay. Yep, that looks pretty good. Looks like an IKEA vanity there. Secure the wall. So put the toilet between my legs, see if it moves around. Yeah, I'm going to say this one needs to be secured to the floor. Yep. not horribly loose, but any loose could break the seal, maybe leak. Goes in the report. Tighten the toilet down. Now we're going to see how to flush it. Good. Take a quick peek in here, see if everything looks okay. Apparently not using this total lot. So first of all, check around the edges. Need a little more light. Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Shower. Flow. A little whirlpool going there. Got some dirty hands. I should wash my hands before we go on. Fingerprinting everything up. I'll put the boxes back before we leave, but I'll let the bottom of the.
Should we wipe the tub before putting the box in?
Yeah,
What do you?
I'll
So
let it
you
dry
okay?
out a
Cool.
little
All right.
bit before I put them back.
So, no.
Yep. Turn up the house here.
Yeah. So let's do bathrooms,
Yeah,
kitchen
this one is-
appliances, and then
We'll check
we'll
the
do the major
basement,
ones since we're running.
basement and furnaces.
Yeah.
So we have a GFCI in here. Always check that in your bathroom. Make sure it's behaving. And the lights are tied to it, which is fine. Well, it's not resetting. Sometimes you have to push on them really hard. I like using my screwdriver to do that, just the way I do things. I don't normally ride it up. It's hard to reset. That one was really hard. Maybe I will on this one. Check up there. It's built into the line.
Yeah,
That's
like,
what we
where's
got
that
going
coming
on.
from?
Yeah, it's the line. Cool. Okay. Okay. Tell you what, let's hit the basement next because that's a big deal.
Okay.
We'll see how we are on time. So let's do this. So, interestingly, steps are mostly pretty good. First step's a little off. So we have some sort of spalling action here. Looks like maybe they did some kind of little parging on this, maybe to stabilize it a little bit. A lot of honeycombing in our concrete. Oh, there's a good crack. Somebody sealed it though, and the good news is it has not opened up since they sealed it. So that's promising. So let's see what we got going on here.
Are the basement steps missing a railing?
Yes, it is missing a railing. Look, it's a narrow set of stairs, so they probably took the railing off for getting stuff in and out. But yes, that will go in the report. We'll come back to the furnace in a second here because I'm seeing a lolly post here, or telescoping post, not secured to the top. We're not sure why they put it here, but boy, they wanted it because look, they poured concrete around the base of it. So for whatever reason, somebody really thought they needed this bad boy here. And then we have another lolly post over here, not secured to the beam. So lolly posts are not supposed to be permanent. They are only temporary jacks used at time of construction, and something more permanent is supposed to be put in. These are not rated for constant use. They work usually for that, but it's still something I'm going to call out and put in the report. So I'm trying to hurry up here, but I'm still going to take a couple of photographs. showing my lolly post, showing it's not secured to the beam like it should be. Got PEX plumbing. It's okay. They painted this whole area here. Sometimes they paint it to hide something. Maybe they had smoke damage or something, or maybe they painted it just to make it brighter. Little wood rod on this post there. Huh. Oops. Yeah. Still pretty solid. But yeah, we're going to call that out. Grounded. That's good. So, there's that big crack we saw on the outside. So, when we look at this, it's obvious this is a dugout crawl space. So somebody back in the day had a crawl space here, and they came in and they dug out a basement in it. So one thing we see here that makes us question whether this thing was done correctly is a rule of thumb: for every foot you go down when you're digging out a crawl space, you should come out 1 foot from the wall or from the foundation to have that stable footing for the foundation to sit in. So we went down 6 feet here. So, oh my God, we should be 6 feet out from the wall here, which wouldn't make for much of a basement. So maybe they did some reinforcing when they put in their retaining walls here that we don't know. So we would probably write into our report, have a structural engineer evaluate it, or possibly check the permit record. If they pulled permits on this job and the city signed off on what they were doing here, then they probably had some sort of engineering done on it to do it correctly. For us, we see another big crack right here. And by the way, whip out the camera, a little spalling on the concrete there too. So we're going to be taking some photographs of those things. Let me get this one over here before I forget. So yeah, a couple of things here that raise a question mark. Where did they do it right? So we have a galvanized water supply coming in. So look, here's the catch with galvanized. Galvanized has roughly a 60 to 75 year working life. Now, occasionally I see it plugging along longer than that, but that's kind of where we typically, 60 years we start seeing trouble, and 75 years we start seeing it fail. All galvanized plumbing's in that right there at that mark, because they quit doing it for the most part, some exceptions, but generally they went to copper in the early 60s. So we see galvanized disappearing from use, or common use, even though it's still allowed. It's still allowed, but it just, best building practice, they quit using it around the early 60s. So I call it out as, be careful. You may be, particularly an underground line, you got the water trying to eat its way out of it, and you got the water on the outside trying to eat its way in. So the life expectancy could even be worse. By the way, here's our water bond that we talked about when we were at the main panel. And one thing I do not like the way they did it here, shame on whoever the electrician was here, and I'm going to call it out, take my photo. This should be extended all the way down to the galvanized. This union here could be a break in the bond, or the continuity, but in the plumbing going through here. This valve here could be a break in that continuity. So this should have been extended all the way down here. So I'm calling that out as wrong. So that will be in the report. What else do we have in this gas pipe here? Okay. So Can't see much over there, can we? And then obviously, oh, look at this. Okay. So, okay. So you see that Y there? That's almost certainly the old drain system. But look at this. We saw when we walked in, we got the drain coming across, running all the way across and going out the wall here. Why do you want to bet that if we did a little investigation, we would find out, or sewer scope on it, that's the old drain over there on the north wall. They disconnected it and they ran a new sewer line out through this side here. So I bet you a sewer scope would reveal that we have a new line, or at least partially, if not all of it, going out this side now instead of that north side, which you guys saw how narrow it is on that side of the house. That would be brutal trying to dig in, trench in a new line on that side. So they probably took it out over here to run it out on this side.
I have a question. Does the gas line need to be bonded?
It's typically not required in the Denver area, but yes, bonding it to our water bond over there is it's certainly a best practice, and I'm pretty sure it's in the code. Look, home inspectors are not code checkers, but obviously so much of what we do overlaps with code. So I'm pretty sure that that there is a code reference for bonding the gas line. So
and then here's another question. If the home is on a private well, how would you bond to the well casing?
No, 2 ground rods, 10 feet apart is typically the way they do it.
Okay.
Good question.
All right, let's move on.
If they ran a copper line from the well into the house, any distance, I mean, like even 30 feet, then that could be a good bond, a good grounding bond, and they could do a water bond on that. And it would take an electrician to check the strength, the validity of that grounding on that pipe, but they could do it that way too on a well. So check our furnace here before we run out of time. I'm looking for combustion air. I'm not seeing it. So, oops. We're supposed to have combustion air, outside air source brought in. Some people call it makeup air, but we do not have it. So should have 2 tubes coming in, high and a low. That's a big one. Call it out. Supposed to have combustion air. It wasn't required when the house was, well, there's a code reference for it, but it wasn't enforced when the house was built, or when the first furnace was put in it. But since about the 90s, early 90s, just about anywhere in the country, because we're making these older homes more energy efficient, we bring in combustion air when we upgrade these furnaces and water heaters. So no combustion air, big deal. Got an electric water heater here, got an expansion tank, a thermal expansion tank on it. I often will check these. This one's a little hard to get to. I may have to check it right here, but there's a Schrader valve or like a tire valve up here. And these things are notorious for failing. There's a rubber bladder in here, air in the top, water in the bottom, and that bladder has a high failure rate. So I'll often check that. In fact, yesterday I got sprayed with water on one of these. So it's really common to run into a waterlogged tank there. So in this house, this city, the whole, oh, look at this. Let's look at this a second. What the heck? I hit myself here wanting to get to the furnace. That's dirt. Oops. Well, that's interesting. Wow. What do we got going on? So I'm going to be taking photos of this. And I apologize, guys. I know we're running out of time here, so I was kind of jumping ahead a little bit. I would have completely walked this foundation on a regular inspection for sure. But now that we see this, we're going to talk about this a second. So for some reason, we got a block, CMU construction block wall here, concrete over here, but we got this big void with just dirt. Wow. Maybe we need a structural engineer to come out here and look at this, huh? So I'm thinking now, I haven't been too concerned about cracks and stuff I've seen, but kind of wondering about this jazz here. So I'm thinking, I'm now going to recommend a structural engineer come out here and evaluate this and see what, it'd be interesting to see what they think. Okay, back to the furnace. So typically, run the furnace, of course. Since we're right here, I'm going to take a quick look at it. The got going on here. Let's see here. Got the label, 60,000 BTUs. We use the input rating for that. So 60,000, and we can tell by looking at this that it's an 80% furnace because of the metal flue on it. 90% high efficiencies have a plastic flue, typically PVC or ABS, and got the certificate there from the Goodman on the unit. Okay, well, fairly clean. Let's pull the lower compartment open. Put your feet there. Okay, let's see what we got here. We'll take a look at the blower, peek in here. A little bit of dirt buildup on it. It's kind of hard to see, but
yeah, I'm trying to get my phone in there.
Yeah.
Can you pull the light away real quick?
Yep.
Let me see if I can see it. Yeah, so it's right there. All right.
Yeah, a little buildup, nothing too major. Check the filter here, see what the filter looks like. Oh, isn't that nice? They got the little pull tray here. Pull it out. Oh, well, I can already tell it looks great. Arrow on the frame is pointing up, which is what we want to see. That's the way it should be. So filter looks good. So a little check the blower door safety switch. So the light there. Yep, heard the click. So there's the light on our IFC, the integrated furnace control. So our blower door safety switch is working the way it should. So that's good. We'll put this back on. Sometimes I'll take reference photographs of this stuff. And if I have a dirty blower, I'll stick my camera up in there and try to take a photograph of the squirrel cage in there to show that it's dirty. This together. So, let's see. Come on.
We have a couple questions.
Sure.
Is there a damper on the flue pipe? Is there a chimney exhaust?
Not needed on this application. So typically we see that on natural draft units. And then because this is an induction 80% system, we don't have dampers on those at all.
Okay.
So also, what do we have here? So we saw over there when we were around that our sewer line is only a few feet below the grade, which is common in these in this neighborhood, this older neighborhood, because they don't all have basements. So but in this case, the house originally didn't have a basement. So the sewer line is, you know, only a few feet down from the grade. So here we have a washing machine and sink here. So they have, I see a lift station down here. So we'll run some water here and see if it kicks on. And it looks like it will lift up and into, it's working. So this is an air vent for it. So what do we do here? Somewhere here. I can hear the water running, so I know it's working. Maybe all this is hiding. Another use for foam. Plug the old drain there. Probably not the best way to do it, but hey, it works. So I have to do this. I have to pump it up. Well,
What do you do if you can't, if you have a hard time, I guess?
yeah, sometimes you just can't find things. Oh, here we go. Here it goes. It's going this way. So they got the discharge going up here and running out. That's what they did.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they did. Okay, so that's the discharge from our ejector. And I was thinking it was going to be on this side. I was looking too hard in the wrong place. And then it runs through. Oh, look, here it ties in right here to our main drain coming out. So, yeah, so they did do it the way we want them to do it. So, electric water here, directly wired, which is the proper way to do it. They shouldn't be plugged into 220 outlets as a rule. The manuals will tell you. I just happen to know the ring manual, and it says hardwired. So they did that one correctly. The temperature pressure relief valve on these right here. This is it, safety device, of course. Sometimes I'll check it to see if it's working, but when I have stuff on the floor and things like this and no floor drain, I'm not going to operate this. I'll spin the toggle. If the toggle's stuck, I will call it out as stuck, but this toggle's working. So I'm just going to have a notation in my report that I didn't operate the temperature pressure relief valve, but I don't have a reason to think it's defective because at least the toggle is loose here. So I would at this point go operate the furnace, or maybe run the AC first and then the furnace. Well, how are we doing on time?
We are just past noon. So why don't we hit the AC and furnace?
You know, our SOP does tell us to identify the location of the thermostat. So hallway, easy. So let's see, he's got it off. So we'll put it on cool, run it down. Let's listen, see if it comes on. I didn't check the service switch down there. He may have the service switch on. That's cool. Although I don't think so, because this is, there it goes. Maybe. I'm going to run back down and make sure it's got the service switch on. Yes, it is on. Well, that's interesting. We got the cover on. So, oh, live TV, right? Yep. Yeah, it says it's on. Why aren't we working? We wonder.
Or is it just hear it click, right?
Yeah, well, we should, you know, the AC unit's right out here, so we should hear it running. Oops, sorry. Let's go outside anyway. By the way, the back door here, we'd be looking at that. I see a little daylight around it too, so I call it.
Take the booties off.
Well, it's not. I'm gonna Oh, there we go. It had to think about it. So it came on. Good.
A little bit of a delay.
Yeah, that was an unusual delay, but hey, it came on. So typically let these run for a good 15 minutes because that takes them that long to stabilize. We're not going to do that for this, obviously. A couple of things you can do. A lot of guys like to check the temperature of a register, the air coming out, and then go to a return air, check that, and see what that spread is. And if it's within 12 to 24 degrees, that's considered acceptable. And the reason it's a broad range is humidity and other factors going on. Another little crack there. And if we can check our registers, we check them for airflow too, by the way. And then I would, on the furnace side, I would, this is my combustion gas and gas sniffer. I would use it to check on the furnace side if I'm getting any carbon monoxide or other leaks coming off, and also check, I'll grab it, we'll act like it's on, and check for gas leaks at the connections and things too. So let's go ahead, since we're kind of doing a little bit of an abbreviated check here. We'll flip this to the heat side, run the temperature up, and it will cycle through. Judging by how slow it was, it'll take a few minutes to kick over to the furnace side.
I just heard AC turned off.
Yep. So turn the AC off. It's probably purging the system, and then when it gets to a safe temperature, it'll cycle over to the heat side. So it hasn't done that yet. So I would take my my gas.
Oh yeah, there it goes.
Oh, there you go. So there's the igniter, hot surface igniter warming up. We should get ignition here shortly. So, and then when the heat exchanger gets warm enough, that will tell the IFC that the circuit board we looked at inside the board compartment to turn the blower on. One other thing while we're sitting here looking, check our flue here. This is B vent, double wall vent. It should have 1 inch of clearance to any combustibles. And when we look up there, it looks like we're pretty good on clearance. So it looks like we're okay there. Listen to see if our blower comes on. So and checking the circuit. What the heck happened there? That's interesting. Okay. You know, looks like we might be short cycling here. I don't know that we'll do that for our purposes here because of our time constraint. But if I have a furnace that I think may be short cycling, I may be parked here for a bit watching it. So what that means is a couple of things. It could be overheating and the thermal protections in it are shutting it off. It could be that because we flipped it straight from AC to heat side, it's having to work through that. So it may not be a true short cycle. So, but in any event, I would be sitting here for a bit, seeing how it behaves. If it continues to do this cycle on and off, I'm definitely going to write it up as short cycle. I'm not going to get into the reasons for that in my report, but it could be a really dirty evaporator up here at the top. Although the blower looked pretty good, so I'm not thinking it's that. It could be something else going on, but let's see how it behaves now that it's kind of had time to think about it after we changed it from cold to heat, and let's see how it does here. But yeah, that flip off there definitely raises our curiosity. So while I have my gas sniffer out here, if I got a big air leak, and I do right here at the evaporator, I would put the wand here and check it to see if I get any readings on it. That's a great place because it's close to the furnace. And the other thing with this Chimney 775, since it checks natural gas, I can check the gas connections for valves and stuff leaks too. So I can do both with the same instrument. We're doing okay here, so maybe that was just a fluke thing because I bumped it straight from cold to heat, and it had some thermal adjustments inside. The sometimes these things aren't as mechanical as you might think they would be. Sometimes work through some of the stuff. Got a condensate pump down here for condensate on the AC side. Got a little water in there, but it's looking good, so that's okay. Okay, our furnace is behaving now, so I'm feeling better about it. We're concerned there for a minute. It's going to be a short cycle. So now, again, on a regular inspection, I'd probably still keep this thing on for maybe another 10 minutes just to make sure it's behaving, even though it's summertime. I might run it a little longer just to make sure. So check my kill switch here, or service switch, and it worked just like it's supposed to, so that's good. So where we're at now, any questions?
Do we have any questions on the furnace? We do have some from
Hey buddy.
From a little bit back. Would you call out the dryer exhaust?
Oh, being low to the ground?
Yeah.
In this case, now that we've looked at everything, they didn't really have a good choice for what to do, but I'd probably just make a note that it's closer to the ground than best practices.
For dryer vents, what is the maximum distance they're allowed to extend? And do you write up if they have lots of elbows and changes in directions?
I do. Great question. So first of all, most of the run should be rigid. So look, we got all flex here going through here. So this is not best practice. It should have been rigid coming up, rigid going across, and our only flex connection would be right at the dryer. So the max run for a dryer vent is 25 feet and 2 elbows, 90-degree elbows. So here, yeah, I'm saying that I would write this up. Yes.
All right, let's see. Some last minute questions. Do you ever call out lack of supports on plastic water lines, especially at fittings?
On PEX, not so much. On drain lines, yes. The drain lines, the sewer lines, so to speak, those need proper supports. The PEX, it's pretty forgiving, but if it's too sloppy, yeah, I'll make a note of missing some supports.
This pertains to the steps, I think, down the basement. Would you call out the rise of the first lower step as a trip hazard coming down here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned that at the start, but I didn't really say. Yeah, the steps should be within 3/8 of an inch difference in rise on each of them. And that first step is, even though it's at like an inch, and then we go to a pretty even steps going up. Yeah, I would make a note of that.
Do we have any last minute furnace or AC questions? Nikki asks, are you adding all the smaller cracks to the dirt void as a all-inclusive statement asking for an engineer?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is one of those places where when I get back to my office and I'm thinking about all this, I'm kind of putting together the essay I'm going to write on this. And since he brings it up, I would comment on, we have some major cracks in the foundation that have gapped maybe an 3/16 of an inch. So they're not monster gaps. But when I combine it with the missing area, the void area there, I would call that out as let's have a structural engineer evaluate everything. Yeah.
What's the brand of your gas sniffer?
It's a Tippy 775. I love these so much. I got 2 of them so that when one's back being recalibrated, and they got to be recalibrated once a year, I still have another one for use. So I'm a big fan of this unit.
All right, let's see if there are any last minute questions. Okay, this goes back to the garage that I didn't see from earlier. If you have a distribution, do you walk the ground towards the garage and check if the line is exposed, not buried properly?
Yeah. If I see it, I call it out.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right, guys. Well, I think we are going to wrap things up now. I hope this was our first live interactive home inspection webinar. It was a lot of fun. It went for almost 2.5 hours. I found it very informative. You guys asked some great questions along the way. Let's see. We may do more of these in the future. So just stay tuned. You can also sign up for future webinars that we perform on future dates. That's nachi.org/webinars. You can find all of our previous recordings of our webinars there as well. So just keep an eye out. There might be a recording. I just got to double check on my end after this is done. But once again, guys, there was a little over 60 of you all. We had someone from South Africa. That's great. I'm glad that you guys all found that informative, and happy inspections, and have a great rest of your day, guys.